Awesome. So it looks like we got the whole squad in here. So welcome to Off the Record Airtable Secrets and Lore. This is week 19. We're a group of Airtable users exploring new ways to use Airtable to optimize our businesses and lives, and we're open to hearing from anyone about their experience, good or bad, using Airtable to make a positive impact in the world. We attempt to promote people coming from any level to share their ideas or ask questions, and we also share our experiences, tips, and practices, offer ways to get help and get involved in the community. We meet every Wednesday from 7 to 7:30 Eastern time in Clubhouse, and then 7:30 to 8:30 here in the Facebook group. You can join at www.videowithben.com for this live stream if you're here on time. So to kick things off, typically we introduce ourselves. So I know we got some new faces in here, so we're going to do a few introductions. Then we can go through any relevant Airtable news, which seemed pretty dry this week. But Chris, do you want to introduce yourself for those new?
Hey, my name is Chris Dancy. I'm a big fan of Airtable and a big fan of Airtable community, and a huge fan of Camille, who sometimes is here.
Well, thank you. I'm sometimes here. My name's Camille.
My name is Ben. I have a YouTube channel where I help people out with Airtable solutions, and I also do Airtable Consulting for small and medium-sized businesses. Popcorn it to Rebecca.
Hey, I'm Rebecca. My company's Airtable champion, trying to get them to come to their senses and go enterprise so I can play with all of the stuff before the rest of you.
Nice.
I can go. I'm Matt Godfrey. I'm in Sydney, Australia. I work as an Airtable developer, kind of business consultant as well.
My name is Daniel Bermerman, and while I'm not here as a IT specialist for an architecture firm, I moonlight as a technology coach, helping small businesses answer questions and such, which I anticipate will include Airtable.
Awesome. Devin, did you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Devin. I work at a vertical farming company and use Airtable a lot.
Vertical farming, not horizontal.
Yeah, we grow up, not out.
So I'd like to start this week off by talking about Airtable automations and the provocative power that integrating your calendar and your email system can do for everyone around you to bring them peace and serenity. But Devin, why don't you kick us off with talking a little bit about your experience with automations and other people?
Well, you know, Chris, I love automations. They just they make everything easier. They completely automate your life.
For those of you not in on the jokes, Devin created this great automation. I don't know what it is, so Devin will share it. But Devin, why don't you tell us what your automation did? Because I think for me to explain what it did will probably be not fair to you.
Sorry, I'm kind of eating here, but I was trying to link my calendars. So I was trying to have my Google Calendar right to my Outlook calendar and had one of them synced. I think I had Google synced in the Airtable base, and then that was using automations to update my Outlook. And I included the attendees field on writing into the second calendar, which may have been a mistake, though I still haven't pinpointed the issue. But Chris, maybe you can show what happened.
Can we see a visual of what happened, Chris?
I could probably find a visual, because I actually didn't make screenshots or anything. I was just joking with you. I'm not that much of a jerk.
Oh, I thought you actually had it up.
Yeah, why would I do that? That was just rude. It's just more fun to
I might have my deleted.
Yeah, just your deleted should be enough. Long story short, so we ended up with like 3 years worth of calendar entries and hundreds of emails. So much so Google thought I was under attack and shut me out of my own account.
564 to be exact.
Yeah, so basically what would happen, it was writing in a recurring thing every time it existed, and I don't even know if next page. It's writing in a recurring thing every time it existed for like recurring. And then sometimes it did it twice on the same day for some reason. So I don't. There was a lot, and then there was more than this too. These are just ones I deleted, but be careful with your automations, folks.
It was profound. I'll just say that. But before we get too far in this show, for some of you who have been here for all 19 or 20 weeks, you know, we've evolved. We were just on the Clubhouse, very small group. We were then, we moved to video, and we've had different people on. Camille came last week, but this week we have someone new. You'll see them on your screen, Matthew Godfrey. So I don't know Matthew. This is our first time meeting. But I shared recently on YouTube, I did an event with Marie Pullen where I talked about neurodiversity and dealing with complex emotions. And I created this huge Miro board of different things in Airtable solutions. And over on Reddit, I shared it, and this great comment come in. And very rarely do I get comments where I award platinum. I don't know if you guys want to know what platinum is, but I awarded platinum to this comment. But it was from Matthew and Matthew's comment. But I thought it was so profound and just really important for people to talk about, because I think it's a lot of things we all like to talk about. But Matthew, can you introduce yourself a little bit more and talk about what jumped out at you about that post, or about Airtable, or about dealing with the models of lifeness and values when it comes to technology? Because I thought you were so eloquent.
Yeah, sure. So when I saw it, like I have one of those minds that kind of lights up when the things that I care about or I'm interested in kind of intersect and cross over. And so I'm interested in like mental health stuff and how to help people, make it easier to be good, for people to feel alive and, you know, live in line with their values, that kind of thing. I love Airtable. That's what I work with all the time. And I love thinking about the future and tech and all this kind of stuff. I struggle as a parent with kind of how do I do the whole tech thing. So when I saw your Miro board, I was like, bing! Like, this is like all these things that I care about, like, and I've been thinking about so much and didn't know that lots of other people were thinking about, like, just to bring together like Airtable and mental health. I was like, oh, this is amazing. So, so when I saw it, I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to, like, I'm more of a lurker on social media and Reddit, things like that. But I was like, all right, I need to write something here, because this is a really interesting, important conversation that needs to be had. I used to be a school teacher, and whenever we'd run like parent seminars and stuff like that, thank you. Whenever we run parent seminars and things like that, often they're quite poorly attended, right? But they ran one where they got someone in to talk about like how to do tech with your kids, and like every single parent like was like desperate to come, and came and like had so many questions and all that sort of thing. And then at the same time, I was in the classroom with the kids and seeing how they're adapting to living in a connected digital world and all that sort of stuff, and just had this growing underlying feeling like they're completely fine, and they're doing this, and they're kind of working all of this out. So it's hard for them when they're getting this message from their parents all the time, hey, this is, you know, get off the screens, all that sort of thing. And I just feel like the Miro board made me think like there's these tools, like I use these tools to try and kind of help me stay grounded in a way. And that's like juicy and good and life-giving to me. It's not this distraction from what really matters. And so I think, yeah, that this conversation and those people like you, Chris, and others who are kind of pushing ahead and modeling, well, how do you be really alive and super digital and connected to tech and all that too? Like, this is like really, I just find it really, like, it's important, and it's not something that many people are doing well, I guess. Yeah.
Hey, Daniel, can you mute your mic and stuff? Thank you. Yeah, it was just really loud. Matthew, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. You're super loud on the mic feed coming through. So you said you have kids and you're a school teacher. So, thank you for school teachers. I have a whole Airtable system I'd like to show you at some point. I built something called Teacher Table to help manage classrooms and play with my husband's a high school teacher. One of my theories about Airtable, and to be honest with you, all productivity software, is usually there's this churn, like I'm going to do this process, then I'm going to use this tool, then I'm going to do this process, and now I'm doing zero inbox, and now I'm following Tim Ferriss. And what I've found is a lot of people in the productivity community, and I'm starting to see it more in the no-code community, I'll be honest with you, no-code seems to be where the productivity people have gone to hide, is this idea of I'm having a feeling I don't know how to deal with it, I better build a solution. And I was wondering if you've seen any parallels, and since you're an Airtable developer too, obviously Airtable systems and businesses are just built for feelings they can't identify. Like, how many Airtable systems go into businesses because businesses can't talk about their problems, but they can log them extremely well, right? It's like every Airtable system in a company is just some proxy for like the culture you wish you had. But I guess since you were so eloquent at fusing these two things together, Matthew, where do you see kind of technology expressing how we feel? Because I think we're in a culture where it's easier to react online than to feel.
This is a good question. Like I agree. Like having worked with, with helping businesses implement these kind of like no-code integrated systems and things, the problem is never the tech. It's people stuff that it brings up. Like that's the kind of limiter on. And I agree. Like so many of these things, it's actually just like a 10-minute conversation that needs to happen that would deal with what's really going on. I'm not sure entirely how to answer this, but like one thing I love about Airtable is it kind of it ends up kind of mirroring the people who are using it, and like I always like to say, it kind of ends up feeling a bit like your grandma's knitting or something. It's so matched to how you are and how you work, and it's almost got like a personality. The more you use it, the more people interact with it, it kind of starts to look and feel a bit like them. And I think that's really cool rather than just having all these black box systems and all that sort of thing. The black box software that we, have just had to adapt to. Now the software is actually kind of adapting to how we are, and it can hold our like quirks and uniqueness and all of that. So like I've had a few conversations with people lately who are in no code and things, and saying like they just find it so hard to convince people to have a go at this and like use it in their company or whatever. And I think a big part of it is it raises the human problems. Like it makes you it forces you to have conversations that are actually really awkward, and forces you into that kind of awkward space of like, well, what are we actually doing here? Like what do we actually care about? What are our core processes that we need to do and all that sort of thing? So I think it's so interesting. I find all this so interesting. It's like it's so new and different. It's great. I love it.
It's funny, Matthew. When I first met Ben Green, when we first started hosting the show, I told him, I said, spreadsheets are great, but databases force you to externalize your values.
Yeah.
Spreadsheets let you be flexible. They're like the trending thing, like what hot social issue is trending today. That's a spreadsheet. A database isn't a spreadsheet. A database says you care about this in this order and it's linked to these things, done. It's as close to big mother as you can get. Spreadsheets are big brother, databases are big mother, because what they do is they allow you to instantly see the connections between the things that you find important. Now, someone else could create a view of a database, but they're still working with like the same mix. And I think that's just so profound. And I love how you just, every time you speak, Matthew, you bring just these, I think, instant alignments that people can't see. The fact that Airtable looks like your grandma's knitting is genius, right? Because so many people look at my Airtable or my Miro's and they go, I know it's yours, right? It's the first thing I get from people all the time. Besides the fact that I focus on these really niche things like witchcraft and school teachers and, my own life and stuff like that, and I think a lot of that is the visuals of stuff, because you know, one of the things I say on the show all the time is your Airtable should look so good you want to eat it.
Yeah.
And I really mean that. You should want to eat your Airtable if it's designed well. And Devin, who is, you know, I think, Devin, we're going to give you the first annual Automation of the Year award. I think we're going to start that right now. We're going to, but Devin is actually a designer, and Devin has this unique skill where he can look at something I've created visually or from a database, find the spelling mistake or the unalignment in 2 seconds. So Devin, can you talk a little bit about your relationship with databases? Because you also have, I think, an extremely unique skill that you see to the core of something and just the anomaly like instantly.
Sometimes, yeah. Other times I can completely glaringly miss it, which is kind of horrible. I'm just speaking about a certain thing that happened at work related to a label. But yeah, it's funny you say that, because like, you know, when I'm looking at paper or something that's like, you know, it's supposed to be a polished document, I look for all of those things. But then again, my Airtable base is like, you know, a complete cluster. Like there's, you know, like I've showed you guys before, there's, you know, many tables with over, you know, 400 fields. You know, there's naming inconsistencies because it's like a year old. You know, there's all kinds of things going on. There's like dozens of views. I don't remember whose views are going out places. You know, who's using these views. I know I have some of them kind of boxed in now that we have sections. But before we had sections, I had tons of views and I couldn't really organize them in a good way. And then, you know, now it's kind of backtracking, like, okay, who's actually using what? And can I just stuff that in a folder and hide it? What I was going to say when you said about grandma's knitting, I said, well, geez, my grandma's knitting must be pretty ugly. Which is also kind of hilarious because I think my grandmother actually won some competitions back in the day.
But it's functional. I think that's really right. I'd like to take on something that Matthew said that Devin just alluded to when it comes to like design. And again, I hate to pick on it. Do we still have Camille with us?
You do, yes, I'm here.
I hate to pick on Airtable, but has anyone noticed that Airtable saves the actual emotion features for professional? Like you can't have different lighter colors. They have to be these awkward 3 colors are like the worst.
It seemed like a weird thing to pay for, honestly.
Right? So wait, it gets better. And why is it you can only change the color of your hearts unless you have professional? So hearts and stars are locked down depending on what plan. And now views, just the ability to not feel overwhelmed is professional. And I think Airtable basically is taking every single piece of emotional literature we have to communicate with each other and charging for it. It's as if Facebook builds you for the light. And I think if we don't start recognizing the Airtable as a system that enables people to connect and manage massively complicated things is now manipulating the very emotional things that make it usable, I think is almost criminal.
Well, I think if you even go further than that, you just mentioned Airtable allows people to connect and manage things. Well, if you're in the same workspace, sure, right? But we can't connect unless we pay more, right? We can't. Yeah. Which it's literally like a wall. Yeah. If anybody is listening to this from Airtable, like understand this is like a wall. I am not getting people onto Airtable licenses themselves because of this. If I could collaborate with a friend,
I could convince them to get a license.
So basically, like, you know, let's say, you know, Ben and I want to work on something together. We both individually have pro accounts, right? For us to work in the same workspace, we'd either have to create a new one and pay for 2 licenses. I don't even want to call them licenses, two billable collaborators, or we would have to add each other to our workspace and then individually billed for that billable collaborator, right? If I join Ben's, Ben pays both. I can't then individually pay for my portion of Ben's, right? And so if Ben and I want to work on something, we should, as we both have pro user accounts, be able to create a shared base where we can access pro features and work on it together without being charged extra. Yeah. And I have people who don't have Airtable yet, who I want to bring onto Airtable and show them these things. And I want to share things with them, but I don't want to bring them on as paid collaborators to my base. I want them to get an Airtable license, have access to their own workspace where they can then play around, learn, get their fellow colleagues on and fellow friends on and spread your network.
So really, it's like the cost of having a team on there to have like a sane team that can work well and like a base that's good looking. like for the individual, it costs more.
Well,
Like,
it shouldn't cost you tens of thousands of dollars a year for people to have the ability to play around and learn the program, like in their
Well,
own
again,
workspace with pro features if you're
this
paying for it once.
in software we call this a walled garden, but I think Airtable has made a jailed Venus flytrap, right? Because they've basically taken the worst parts of a garden, a Venus flytrap that eats other insects, right? The thing that saves gardens, and made it so inaccessible, right? So again, you have a great solution where people could solve a problem, but now you've got all these, I've said this in the show before. I know there's some financial reasoning behind it. I think their infrastructure is so tied to the current licensing model that to change the licensing model would devalue them significantly. And if there's one thing I know Howie is linking to, it's that $10 billion valuation, right? He's linking to that record every damn day. He is not going to like unbundle that model. But I also know from working with enough SaaS companies, they're at a point where they could do the right thing. They could start to make this accessible to education. They have models, that are, I think there's an education model and stuff, but it's still inaccessible. And I think, and I'll just end with this. I'm still slightly disappointed that they discontinued the COVID program because Howie basically said everybody's now vaccinated enough that we don't need to give people a break on this. And there are a lot of small communities that could benefit from this. With that being said,
I just don't understand how you pitch enterprise as a kind of medium-sized business, right? Like, I've got a workspace that I run that I've, shared a few bases with people that I work with, but they can't then go and create their own things, right? So, right now there's, say 5, but if I want to start sharing across departments, I can't enable them to do their own thing. How are we ever going to get buy-in for this to go bigger?
Let's ask Matthew. Matthew, you're in Australia, I think. You're in another part of the world, another hemisphere. By the way, getting ready to celebrate winter. Are you heading up to winter now for you?
It's winter, yeah. I've got the heater on.
Yeah, I always like to remind people who are very northern centric that your winter is not winter for everyone. So take your Elsa-ness back to your Neverland Disney World because half the globe does not live in your season. Okay, thank you for that. But how do you deal with licensing down there? You're an Airtable consultant, I think you said. The problem Devin's explaining is it's very real. I've run into it. I end up like allowing people on my plan. I get charged $400, $500, $600. And then when they leave the project, I just get the money recouped back to me. So I feel like I'm doing a full-time payday loan to Howie. How are you guys doing this down there?
So it's annoying. This is always a big conversation I have to have with new clients because they kind of get a shock when they realize, the number of people, how much it's going to cost for the number of people that they want, and they're a bit kind of miffed about it. And they kind of question, should we do this on Coda or something that charges by creator instead? Partly, I've got a couple of businesses on the Pro Starter Pack, which is the one that they don't really advertise. It's just on a blog post and you have to write to them. And it's like, I think it's like $30 a month for 5 people. But then again, if you jump to 6, it's like, it goes like way up. So that's something I've done for a few people. And then other than that, for people that work with me, we all just use the same developer account. We have just one developer account. All the bases get shared to there so that I don't have to pay for, 5 people to access the one base. It is painful. Like you're always kind of, working around it. And it's the one thing people are a bit sour about. Yeah. That and the fact that the field headings, you can't do multiple lines on them. It's just like, in terms of design, it's like, oh, come on, please just let us do this. That would be amazing.
I got a 49-inch monitor because somebody is too stingy with the design outlet. Tell us now. I've heard about this Pro Starter Pack. You said basically it's 5 users for $30 a month.
Something like that. Hang on, I'll post a link in the chat in a minute.
You can share it too. Yeah. If you post a link, I'll share it to the screen. I've heard that. I think it's really that's a great offer. I like that a lot. I mean, the current billing plan, I know they recently offered, or they have this, not recently, but like in the last year, they added this plus option. That's new. When I signed up for Airtable years ago, this was not even there.
That was there when I was looking at it, like at least like a year and a half ago. maybe.
I was there in 2019.
Yeah.
So, but you know, the distance between free and plus, not a whole lot of distance, I'll be honest with you, right? The distance between plus and pro, gigantic. And from everything we can tell so far, the distance between pro and enterprise is just doubling the records. And I think the space might be
Storage space.
Yeah, it might be that. But with the box integration, you probably
And the limited workspaces.
Security.
Single
Yeah.
sign-on.
Yeah, single sign-on. So does that just allow you to like use your Google or your no? Because I use Google now. How does the single sign-on work?
If you have, if your system, you have your own login, whatever, that you use for all your other products and whatever services that you have, you can use the same one to log into Airtable.
Like an Active Directory or something, or what?
Yeah, like a user management system. If you already have your users set up in some other thing, you could use that to log people in and out as collaborators.
Or like
Okay, so-
companies who use crypto keys and stuff like that, like physical passwords.
I think it does that too. I could be wrong, but I think that's part of it.
So Matthew, did they just release this, or is this a blog update to whatever day you go there to trick you into thinking they're fresh?
No, it's been around for a while, like a
Okay.
couple of months maybe.
We'll check
Did you
back on
guys
that
see-
tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe
you
it's
got-
been
you-
updated.
Actually, can you send that link? Let's check the Wayback Machine.
It's in the chat.
chat.
So
Yeah.
again, I've seen a lot of blogs that do this. I'm not going to get into my rant about stop tricking my attention, but you know, a lot of blogs will like update the article whatever day you look at it or the day before. But this is interesting. I had not seen this blog. Maybe this is a new blog, but Matthew find it. Matthew, did you find it because you had it bookmarked or because you just did some Google work?
Yeah, I had a bookmark,
Okay.
because it's actually really hard to find. Like,
Yeah, you think?
yeah, I found it on the Built on Air. Someone on the Built on Air Slack posted it.
Yeah. So this is their blog, their official blog is called For the Record. Ironically, for those who want a little lore, our show is actually off the record because of this. But this is a great deal, I'll be honest with you. And they're charging $29 a month for Pro plus 5 users. Is that how that works?
Yeah, 5 users. Yeah.
That's a remarkable price. Devin, you've been the most emotionally hurt by this process. Do you feel any type of, Devin's like, I need the link to that now. Do you feel any, how does this make you feel, Devin?
It's still tied to a single workspace now, right?
Yeah, it's workspace based.
I mean, useful, but kind of too late for us.
Well, I will say that this is going to be what gets me over the hump to eventually sell enterprise, because the invoice amount for the amount of users right now is what's keeping us back.
All right. So you said something about lower tier enterprise. And I found my sheet from when I had an enterprise call on October 19th.
And this is, wait a minute, before you go, is this one of the enterprise leprechauns people have seen darting underneath rainbows? Because I don't know if they're real.
This was
You actually
October,
talked to
and they didn't have video on. It was just audio. Could have been AI.
Oh, I told you they are leprechauns. You will never meet an enterprise person at Airtable. There's no pictures of them. They only come like through the phone or certain chats. I've heard if you say Beetlejuice 3 times, they'll show up in a mirror. Black Aggie, apparently, you can look into a pond, summon a frog, possibly kill a chicken, and they show up. So go ahead now. Tell us about this.
Yeah.
enterprise.
So you said something about lower tier enterprise. What did you like?
Basically, it's how it was pitched to us was like a custom plan, because we didn't need quite as many licenses. We didn't need the Airtable support. We were willing to compromise on some of the features, so they gave us a different custom option. Basically made it seem like there was a little room for negotiation.
I got quoted $36K US.
Yeah, we were quoted that, and then I don't remember the exact amount, but definitely want to go back and forth with the
36K for 50 users, which at the regular price would be 12K.
I want to say it was around there, but a little bit more than that.
And really the only benefit is the increased attachments and increased records.
Or workspaces. You finally cross workspaces.
Yeah, multiple workspaces. You can build out your departments properly. And I'm at the point now where with about 6 months of data, I'm hitting those base limits. So if I could have double that, obviously I can get a whole year into a base.
It's you know, the more and more I think about this, the more and more I realize 100,000 is absolutely nothing.
Doesn't
50,000
Excel
is
go to
more
like 30,
nothing.
36,000?
I don't know what it goes to.
I think Excel goes quite a bit further.
I loaded it up Excel with 900,000 lines at one point.
Yeah, so for this pro starter pack, I think it's a great idea until you get to 6 users. It's fantastic for those between 2 and 5. But after you get to 6, then it jumps from 30 or 29 bucks a month if you pay annually to like, it would be 120 if you pay annually.
Could you not just buy a bunch of accounts and have like multiple workspaces then? Build out some siloed enterprise mapping?
I actually have found something that might be really off the record. So I was checking the Wayback Machine myself, Devin, because I knew there were some changes in these pricing. And I just want people to know that I am meticulous about this. So I'd like you to check this out. If you look at the original page for this, it literally says, contact our leprechaun. Right here. It literally says it. And I'm just saying that there was a point that leprechauns were running this whole show. I'm just going to leave that there. Check the Wayback Machine for yourself. But I'm just saying.
Honestly, somebody came out tomorrow and mirrored Airtable and just said that I could have a license instead of a workspace plan, I'd switch.
Yeah, their whole model would blow up huge. Before we get too late in the day, do you guys want to see the new thing I've been working on?
Yes, been waiting all week.
Okay, so the first thing I want to bring up something that Matthew said earlier. Matthew said, I'm just a lurker on Facebook. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the 1% rule of internet culture. But if you haven't, never shame yourself for being a lurker. Most people are. It's called the 1% rule. It's a known internet thing. Just most people are over here in the lurker. Now, you guys are all creators. You're putting stuff on the internet. You're in videos. You're building stuff on. You're not lurkers. So I don't ever think about that. So you guys know for the longest time, I've had my Airtables, my Dare table, which runs my life, my Care table, which runs my emotional health, right? My Airtable runs my values. We've talked about that. My Care table, which does all the spiritual stuff. And of course, now I've got the community system that runs my neighborhood. Well, something I've found recently is I'm seeing more and more people that are struggling either finding a job, getting out of a job they're in, or holding their employer accountable. So those are the 3 things. They're trying to find a new job. They feel, because they're unemployed. They're stuck in their current job, or they want to hold their account or employable. So I've been working on something called Career Table. So Career Table sits on the same stack that I use all the time. So Airtable, Miro, and Pori. Miro for the documentation and instructions. Airtable for how it functions. Pori for the front end. And it does three things for you specifically. The 2 biggie that I think you guys will like are portfolio and accountability management. So let's kind of unpack those a little bit. So what I needed was, I need a solution that anyone can instantly take their career and make it accessible. Well, again, there's a lot of no-code web builders, but again, if you want to integrate it with something you can manage, you don't want to log into Squarespace every time you create a new job or finish up some type of portfolio project. So it needs to be able to have that. It needs to be simply tied into your social media, needs to be tied into maybe email list. A lot of people are starting to keep personal CRMs, but a lot of people, like I said, outside of their careers have portfolios, so things they've designed. The next thing it needs to do, outside of this idea of personal branding and professional accountability, is the accountability function. So often, if you're an independent creator or you're on LinkedIn and you get endorsements, they get lost in the ether. So 1, it allows you to send out emails to collect endorsements or endorsement management. 2, it allows you to create a form that you keep on your phone, you can share with your coworkers, called an accountability tracking form where you can log microaggressions, physical safety, and emotional safety. So think of it as an HR department for you. So every time you see or hear something at work, you log it and take care of it. The whole thing runs on this beautiful, beautiful Pori site. So we'll go ahead and look at this now. You can put in your email address. You can come in here and say, hey, I'd like to find all the jobs where this person was a principal or a C-suite person. You can then zoom in and look at one of those and say, what did this person do there? You can come over here. And again, it's all managed in Airtable. So you would just update those jobs in Airtable. You'd be able to come in and look at their portfolio. So portfolios are the work product we create at our jobs. Sometimes that's accessible. I think it should be accessible for more people. And then finally, be able to interact with people. But what I'm most proud of with this whole system is it gives people a single place to see all the companies they've worked for, manage those companies and positions, see their career in the beautiful gallery view, or Gantt. Gantts are great for modern resumes, being able to see this. You can import, so this is the other kind of fun thing I love. So all the tables are built on the LinkedIn download dump. So when you ask LinkedIn to give you your information, it gives you all of your information, all of your endorsements, all of your jobs, all the people you're recommended to in CSV formats. And I have created every single table to match those CSV formats. So you can not only create your own HR department, but you can pull in everything you've done with where you've worked, the people you've worked for, the projects you've done, and your endorsements. But most importantly, we've created an entire accountability tracker. So you can come in here if you weren't feeling safe, log what made you not feel safe in that moment, why you were at work and how you felt, and tie that back to a job and or a person. So I'm really super stoked about this because I think creating systems that I can give away on the internet for people to take control of their careers, whether you're painting pictures or you're an accountant, and hold your boss and hold people accountable, as well as raise the praise for you, is something we're all sorely missing. So I'd love to get your feedback. I worked on this for a day and a half just to kind of get something out there. And what do you guys think? What part really speaks to you?
I think my favorite part personally is the digital resume part. Just not having to be tied to LinkedIn for that, and just being able to see everything in your own no code kind of tool stack. I think that's the most appealing part to me.
Does this incorporate getting this whole portfolio or kind of work product piece? Do you have a way to filter between publicly viewable and not? Because I think in terms of this accountability thing, it'd be interesting for people to kind of log their achievements, like you said, to then, if they're stuck at work, then, record those in an organized way and be able to use those, whether externally or internally later.
Yeah, so I think the opposite of the accountability tracker, where if you feel some type of aggression or some type of slight happening at work, is being able to log those endorsements. So again, a lot of times we've all been in jobs where someone sends you an email and says, you did a really great job. But when it comes time for your review for your boss, you have no record of that. So being able to log those in your system and take them to, again, I think it's an HR, I tried to build an HR system for the actual human, not the resource. We fucked up, people. Right? We are milking people like they're batteries. They're teaching them to meditate and take a day off so we can come back and put you in the same toxic environment. So, to me, I really wanted to focus on what are we doing to help people out. But yeah, Devin, I think the email for account or for praise is a super something I really wanted to focus on.
You could actually use the web clipper for that, presumably.
Right?
Because you can, when you selected text as a thing, so you just select the body of the email, even if it doesn't exist.
And this is what I loved about it, because so often I've met people who get stuck in their jobs. And they can say, well, so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that. When you go to HR, they go, well, do you have any proof? Or the end of the year, like we were just saying, go to the end of the year, you go to your review. Do you have anything? But now let's say you don't have that type of job. You're an independent contractor like me. Some client says, I really like this a lot. I'm like, I don't want to bother you for an endorsement. Can I just use that sentence? No problem. Clip. Right? And then your ability to tie your endorsements to people, to your job, and have them visible and filterable on a front-end website. So it could be matthewgodfrey.pori.io. I think that's really, really powerful. And I think we're living in a decade where we need to teach people to not surrender kind of their identity to these big systems. Matthew, what do you think?
I love how it's like all of these things that are in there are pretty like meaningful things to track, and I like that you put it together as like a you know, the whole system that, you know, different people can see it in the way that would be meaningful for them. I'm like, I'd love to have a go at this kind of thing. I think it looks really cool. I'm just trying to think, yeah, how I would use it, but definitely like making it easy for people to track endorsements and stuff like that and keep track of their portfolio. It's good. It's cool.
Thank you. And I think, you know, I like that. I like to have Devin remind me that I have to go back and update some of my kind of promo documentation now. But again, I was trying to build something that I felt was an empowerment tool. So it was really exciting to me.
I think it's
Rebecca,
good to have those things that, like, you know, you forget about stuff that's happened, and it's like, if this kind of thing prompts you to like capture that so you can look back, yeah, that's great.
I mean, it's a great easy automation to just set up a blind copy to follow up at a certain address that automatically goes to the system, right? Another one of the automations I use is when I start an email, it goes to my email capture system, and just having a filter be able to, you know, log those emails as aggression or praise. That's a very powerful thing. And again, I defy anyone to use this system or something they would build similar and not actually crush that HR department.
And I think the other,
those people, go ahead.
Well, just the other interesting thing that you said about, you know, your email, you know, starring and whatnot, I kind of mentioned it, but like the web clipper doesn't actually have to clip the web. Like if you're using Chrome, you can use it as basically a form widget, like a quick link to a form to add stuff in.
I did not know that.
Well, I don't think you can have fields that aren't clipped, right? So you could just set it up to not, I think you can set it up to not automatically take anything, and then just you pop into your Chrome widgets and, you know, it's like basically a form.
Rebecca, what do you think? You work at a big company?
I will say that this is definitely one of those accountability things that nobody wants to, you know, do or talk about, but there are these, you know, certain people who don't fit the values of the company, or there are things that go on that you can kind of sweep under the rug if nothing's reported, but once it's there, you know, it's kind of like any sort of OSHA thing or anything like that. It's all on paper. It's like getting audited. You can't ignore it. You can't say it didn't happen. And you can't say that it isn't happening on an extremely regular basis.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't worked in a real company in a decade. You can tell why. But I just think back in the day, something like this would have been so useful for me. I mean, my book, Don't Unplug, in my chapter 4 is dedicated to work. I had my own system back then, except I didn't do this in Airtable. I did it in Google Calendar. And I literally just sent my Google Calendar to the HR department and said, she threatened to kill someone at dinner. I thought it might be important to say something like, don't talk about killing your ex-husband in front of me. And suddenly, like, I'm making her feel uncomfortable. Threatening someone with murder over steak is kind of uncomfortable.
I don't know, Chris. I don't know. Sometimes I've been at dinner and I'm like, I feel like I want to murder somebody. Don't you feel like that's common, Chris?
Well, I guess it is. I mean, especially in Texas, but I don't know. Kevin, I don't know, Camille, if you saw the demo, because I know you can hear us, but
Yes, I did see it.
What did you think? Because you built a lot of cool stuff.
Well, you're just so complimentary, Chris. One of the like thousands of things that I do for USC, I teach a kind of 1 hour quick refresher on how to do portfolios specifically for urban planners when they start, you know, their careers and whatnot. And one of the things that I talk about is when you finish a project or you get an idea for something, write stuff down, because a year from now, when you're putting together a portfolio, you're going to forget what the prompt was, what problem you were trying to solve, who was the client, all these kind of things. And, you know, from thinking about it from my perspective, and that I like how the system that you're building, in addition to logging all of this stuff in the moment of this is how I feel in the moment. You're also logging all of your accomplishments and things before you forget about them.
It's been extremely important to me because, like, as kind of a, a personality of sorts, my life falls into like a couple different categories: events, media, and consulting, right? So consulting, everyone from Bear to Google, I've done work for them, right? They're all down here in the closed. But when I finish up those consulting events, I want to be able to come in here and actually capture what we did, my interactions with those people, and any other work product from that event. So that could be pictures of me on stage. That could be, someone capturing, something I was talking about at that time. But without this, when I go to work with a new client, it's almost impossible to tell them the value. Okay, well, you worked with Bear. You mean the Bear? Yeah, I worked with Bear. You taught a class at Dartmouth? Yeah, I taught a class at Dartmouth, right? It sounds good, but like you need to have your own Google, people. You need your own Google for you, right? And I just think if people could see that. The other thing is a lot of times people are like, Chris, you did this, you did that. Again, I should be able to come in here, pull up no matter what piece of media I've done, see a transcript of that media, and also be able to listen to that media in real time. So I also archive all my own audio and video and stuff like that. And then events, right? I speak at events all over the world. So being able to come in here and see the last event I spoke at for the US Army, right? What was the information? What did you create for the Army? Did you get any feedback from the Army, right? So I've got these are all my interactions with the Army, but I've got all of my, references from the Army in here too. These are the types of things when I think about portfolio, I want to try to replicate with Career Table. Because I think if people had access to their own growth, their own work product, right? It's great to put stuff on YouTube and it's great to send out tweets, but at the end of the day, you've got to get paid, people. Right. And if you're not taking what you do every day, and I don't care whether you're an Airtable developer working at a big company, it's just you and that, you're still building cool stuff. You can still take screenshots and blur out information, right? No one is going to come save your career. No one. This is the 2020s. It's not the 1990s when I got everything handed to me, right? You've got to be in charge of yourself and kind of take, be proactive. Camille, I want to come talk to your portfolio people you teach to.
Well, it happens on a select day on each semester in a rare blue moon. So I'll let you know the next time it happens.
Well, I'm a witch and actually know when blue moons happen, so you don't have
well,
to worry
there you
about
go.
that. Does anyone know what a blue moon is?
I feel like I used to, and then I've forgotten.
Isn't it like the harvest moon or whatever? Or what is it?
Hands up, no one Google. Everyone's Googling.
I'm pretty sure. I thought it was like a harvest moon or something, like in the fall.
No, I think the blue moon is the second new moon of a month.
Oh, okay. I mean, you guys are way more into that than I am. So
yeah. Coming from the man who keeps bones in his kitchen.
Chicken bones.
Of course. Yeah.
To be fair, the kitchen is the best place to keep bones. I would feel a little bit, I don't know, I feel like it's more questionable if it were somewhere else other than the kitchen.
Kind of getting creeped out by your closeness to death, Camille. First murder at dinner, not a problem. Now bones in the kitchen. I'm thinking there's a whole nother LA story in you.
This is the episode where I reveal that there's a lot going on in my head.
Oh, well. If you're watching the show, Career Table will be out for people to use along with some other kind of fun things we're working on as a team real soon. You'll have to check it out. But again, I think, what I love about what we're trying to do is we're trying to create actual daring solutions. Matthew, have you had a chance to play with Pori yet?
I haven't had a chance to play with Pori yet. I've seen it, but no.
They're Aussies.
Yeah, they're in Melbourne, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know that's a whole different world. Were you Sydney? Are you Sydney?
I'm in Sydney, yeah.
Yeah. Guys, for those of you who don't know, there's a whole... Do you want to talk about this culture clash between you two? Not Pori, but Sydney and Melbourne.
Like Sydney's got really nice natural landscapes, heaps of beaches, weather's really good. Melbourne, it just rains a lot every day. They're really into, like, my memory of Melbourne, like I have lived there, but there was a film festival in the street and it was like pouring with rain and there was still like 1,000 people there with umbrellas watching a movie on the street. So they're big on that. Yeah, they kind of think we're a bit obsessed with real estate and natural landscapes and all that. But yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
We get on.
Melbourne's very moody. The other thing I love about
Yeah.
Australia, has anybody been to Australia, Rebecca or Devin, anyone? The other thing I love, now you have to tell me if this is true, because you know how you guys bring us down there and you lie to us about stuff. And
Yeah.
we just buy, we think you're riding around in kangaroos, but the thing I was told is koalas now. Koalas, they're different first, but people don't know the koalas are real. Is that true, Matthew? There are real koalas?
They're real,
That's a
yeah.
thing? Okay. And they're different sizes. You get small ones. There's only a few places that you can hold them. Is that correct? Like certain states you can hold a koala?
There's koala parks and stuff that you can hold them, I think. I don't know. It's not really my thing.
Yeah. So they're not, you can't legally manhandle a koala, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So don't ever go there. It's only one, I think the Northwest state that does it. But what I thought was interesting, now I don't know if this is the part they were lying to me. So koalas like to eat what? Eucalyptus, right? Eucalyptus leaves. Is this true?
Yeah, and mud. They eat mud as well.
Well, I had a younger brother who was into that, but he did not have the koala fur. But what I find so interesting about this is eucalyptus is also highly flammable. Isn't this not true?
Yes.
So now I'm going to get to the part of here's the big question. I've been told that early in the settlement of Australia, that because koalas ate eucalyptus, they would light them on fire and treat them as projectile bombs because they would just explode because they were so full of eucalyptus. Is this true?
I do not believe that's true. I don't think. The one thing that I have heard is that they're usually drunk because the eucalyptus, like, it ferments in their gut, and they sleep for like 19 hours a day, and when they're awake they're kind of tipsy.
So they sound like my first husband. He was obese and drunk most of the day and slept, but okay, well, that's sorry to go off on this tangent about koalas. I just think we have someone from another world who can help us. So that's it. That's all I had for kind of the career table. I don't think we have any other good.
I've been thinking about this career table as you guys have been, or as you've been presenting it, as you guys have been talking about it, and I think it'll be especially useful for myself, or really I see it very valuable for freelancers who they have like a ton of these different projects. And oftentimes I'm on like an audit call with someone and they're like, I want to like bring up how I like worked for these two specific companies. But I could just visually show them my Airtable and show them like, I worked on this project for this company. This is how it relates to like what you're asking for. And I also worked for this project for this company. This is how it relates to that. And they're a lot smaller than like normal like career jobs that most like traditional employees would have. But I think the concept is the exact same there. If you can just visually show someone what you've been working on. And I think especially for those who have like the smaller jobs, it's very, very valuable there.
Yeah, I don't know, the more I got into it, the more I got to actually start building it, the more I thought to myself, it just kept coming to me, people need their own HR department.
The other thing I think with this is just for freelancers and stuff, like, every so often you get a client that's particularly difficult, and it can sometimes be difficult to be accountable to yourself and to say, actually, like this person's treating me quite poorly.
Yeah. And
if you kind of tracked that more, you could kind of build up the evidence, even just to yourself, to say, all right, I need to quickly, because you can go on sometimes a bit long, just to be accountable to yourself as well, to go, oh yeah, actually, like, this person sent me 30 emails that are like really demanding and negative, and like 2 that, or none that say, thanks for your work or whatever. So,
but I also think it's like an emotional tone, Matthew, because like sometimes you feel like not fulfilled, like maybe you're not a good person. Being able to look at your career, but specifically your projects in a career, can remind you like you do fulfilling stuff. You know what I mean? And I think, again, in a world full of people building job boards, like how many YouTubers on Airtable are building job boards? How about some jobs? Right? Can we stop automating the system that's killing people and start building the system to save them?
The other interesting thing, just totally aside from this, is searching Airtable and job boards and looking at what kind of jobs are actually now asking for that as a either a requirement or a nice to have.
I don't know. I just think that we've got a lot of cool integration coming up with a lot of cool stuff. Recently talked to someone from Sydney, or not Sydney, South Africa, who's looking at the community management solution, really into that. So if you're watching the show, you're interested, you think, hey, I've got this really good idea, give us a shout. I've heard from Matthew, I've heard from a guy from South Africa, a guy from London, people from all over the world are starting to come up, join us, come to the show, come on, we brought Matthew on. Tell us what you're building and why it's important, because you do not have to build business systems in a vacuum. You can build life systems out loud. And that's really what we're trying to do. And I hope, you know, if this inspires you some days and you wake up or you just like it when I go off the rails, you'll consider coming on the show and joining us. Not you, Siri. Sorry, Siri's answering me. Matthew, would you consider coming back and joining us in the future and sharing some of the things you've built? I know you've got some cool things you've built too.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Sure. I could show, I've got a bit of a like kind of life vitality system that is currently being baked. It's a big messy mind node.
Nothing you can tease us with now? Can you maybe tease us with the mind node?
Yeah, I could tease you with the mind. I mean, it's pretty messy.
That's okay. I promised I wouldn't put you on the spot, and I just did, so I do apologize for that.
No, that's all right. I don't mind.
I can get on board with messy.
We do so many things in the show that are kind of daring. We should almost like maybe not, it's an Airtable, like Airtable. Go ahead, Matthew.
It's a good name.
You should be able to share. We're poly sharing here. Anyone can share at any time.
Okay,
wow.
So this is gonna look messy, but it's basically
wonderful.
So this is me trying to kind of work out. Hang on, I'm using the wrong mouse. Here we go. So this is me trying to kind of work out, you know, I've just turned 40. I figure I've probably got like another 40 years to go, and try and have some kind of system that helps me orient myself. Because I have some mental health struggles. I have some, like, there's a lot of challenges in life, all that sort of thing. Trying to stay grounded and all that, yeah, it can be really hard. So I'm trying to, this system is designed to help me kind of get oriented at anywhere from like the next 40 years to the next 40 seconds sort of thing. In there, like my themes and values, different domains of life, paths, which are kind of like, yeah, different journeys I want to go on. And then starting to map out like what goes where, because I use ClickUp for work, to work with others. I use OmniFocus, and you know what tools I'm using for different things. Sorry, this is very messy, and some of the lists I'm using.
It's beautiful.
Levels
it's literally it's stunning. It's stunning. Can I get some feedback from the group here? What do you guys think about this? This is stunning.
This is awesome. And
this is on MindNode.
You definitely
yeah, MindNode.
That's over here.
And then I can show you the Airtable that I've started putting together. So this is
watching Chris's. You've been following Chris's emoji path.
This is like this is odd, this bit. So I kind of start with three things. One is my team, one is my themes and values, and then yeah, kind of got this aliveness scale thing as well. Anyway, this is like my internal family system. So like that idea that we're all made up of different parts. So like, you know, coming on this today, I was like, part of me was like, oh, this is really cool. It'd be fun to be on here. Part of me was like, what are you doing? You total imposter. Like, this is not gonna, you know, you're gonna look stupid. And kind of taking those parts seriously. I've done some work with someone on kind of uncovering this. And the reason I take it seriously is I found it so stupidly useful. So for example, like, is this okay to talk about?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. I'm loving it.
So for example, like, all right, I've got this part of me called Medi, who is kind of my, like, loves like thinking strategically, complex problems, starting stuff. She's like, yeah, adventure. Just she's kind of the more pushy, edgy part of me, right? And then I've got this other part, Alexia, and who's kind of more like, think like a really successful female exec or something that's like pretty organized, pretty straight down the line, cares about how they look, likes lists and stuff like that. All right. So these are two of my like really core parts. And she hates finishing stuff, right? Medi hates, like she just gets bored super easily. And so what often happens in my business in Baseweave is that, you know, Alexia's working her butt off all day to just get all this stuff done. And then at the end of it, like Medi's annoyed because she's like, wants to kind of like hijack the whole thing and start something else. All right. So part of my work has been kind of helping those to reconcile and work out all that stuff. Anyway, I've got a whole freaking system here. There's like a lot of stuff and I spend time with this every day. Well, most days. And then from there, I kind of got my themes and values and they link through to the team as well. And then like domains of life, stuff like this. So this is very messy at the moment. This is very much a work in progress. Yeah. But then I'm kind of spreading it out then into like just different time horizons. So, you know, down to kind of the 1 year horizon, the 90-day world. And then from there, I move it over into OmniFocus at the moment. I've also kind of been trying to think about how to gamify things a bit more. And I haven't done much of that yet, but yeah, I love this. I'm interested in some of the stuff you do, Chris, around this, about how you kind of measure stuff easily. Cause I think that's the thing, like it's gotta like fit in with life and all that sort of thing. So anyway, that's a sneak peek.
Check out Our Balance, my app. It integrates with Airtable, and
okay,
you can see your rising and falling domains, sleep, work, you know, friends, etc. But yeah. Matthew, this is better than anything I could have. I mean, I know you said this is better than anything I possibly could have imagined. The fact you've got the team, I think, is the most mind-blowing thing I think I've seen in tech in 15 years. So this team represents kind of the parts of your personality, right?
Yeah. So they're like and yeah, look, I guess the way that you find, I've done this work with this, like a friend or a connection I've got with, she's in Switzerland. The way you kind of find them is to find where you're unsettled in your body and in where you sense discomfort and a pain and sort of stuff. And it's like a trailhead and you follow it down and then it ends up like you can kind of interview it and ask it all these questions. It's been really profound for me. I kind of realized at some point I can't be
Matthew, it's profound for everybody watching right now.
There's such a need for this.
Yeah. It's I can post a link to the person I've done the work with. There's a few good books as well. If you look up internal family systems.
Yeah, please
related to shadow work, if that's I love this.
Yeah,
it's been very profound for me.
This is genius. And Airtable Shadow Board is probably the most daring thing I've seen on Airtable in I don't know how long. I mean, Ben, what do you think? I know, Ben, you dabble in some of this. I know you're Ben and Devin are very business folks, but Ben, what are you thinking?
I was just speechless when I like realized like what all this is, because like a big part of me over the past year has been doing a lot of inner work, and so this like ties together both like the passions of like doing all the inner work and like putting it in Airtable. So I'm just like blown away. I have so many ideas now for like stuff I could do for myself, and then it's incredible. I love it.
I don't think any of us are going to get much sleep tonight.
I'm just thinking about all the things I need to build in between this and the kind of like, you know, what you do record, like, you know, what you do and what you are. Need to kind of
Matthew, side note, I was a huge MindNode person.
Okay. I love MindNode. Whenever I'm lost, I start in MindNode. Yeah.
And I ended up moving to Miro from MindNode, and there's no way to get my stuff out of MindNode. So
that is a very annoying part of MindNode, other than the task paper thing. If you like, I can send it to OmniFocus or whatever, but not. Yeah.
Do you do any logging in here, Matthew? Because Devin just brought up something. He said, Devin, you said where you want to log things, or you want
like who you are and what you do, because like your whole like, you know, career thing, that concept basically is, I'm thinking about myself, like, you know, what do I do? And I just started thinking, I was like, I should just run a web clipper where I just log what I did in a day rather than what
Yeah.
my calendar says I'm going to do. Just like, what was I working on?
I always tell people your calendar and your email are other people's demands on your time. Everything else you do is your demand on your time. Right. And again, one of the things I really love, I love that you use Fantastical. So stop sharing for a second, Matthew. I want to show you something. I also use Fantastical, Matthew. And one of the things I use for Fantastical, and I don't know if anybody else uses Fantastical, it's basically a calendar app, so you don't have to be overly concerned about will it work or will it not work, is I built in specific calendars to change my focus. So over here on my calendar, you see over here it says appointments. So I've got a travel calendar, a focus and planning calendar, a Bill's calendar, a magic calendar, a Chris calendar, love calendar. But the love calendar is just a link back into all the things that relate to very specific critical moments in my life. And I make the calendars, whether it be the love calendar or the magic calendar, accessible to certain friends. It's publicly available, right? So I think, this idea of creating personal holidays, whether they be career milestones or anything else, you can do that with Airtable, right? What you're building there, Matthew, I think in your system is if you did things with specific dates, when you confront these inner work that you're doing, you can, I think that's a very profound thing to see. When did Maddie take over and run the show for a while?
I've got a journal in day one that it's linked to as well. So it kind of, there's a bit of that. Yeah.
It's just remarkable. I'm telling you right now, I thought today couldn't get better. And then you showed
I'm glad
that.
you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I would, if I could give you Reddit Platinum here, I would. Ben, we are 10 minutes over.
We are. This has been awesome. Matthew, I really hope you come back on next week. I feel like there'd be a really good sync between what you just showed and like having the daily journal thing. So you could see, like, I think Chris alluded to it there, but like every day you've been every single one of those, and even or like every single one of like the character types of yourself, and even further than that, like what stuff you buy when you're that character type and all of that. But
yeah,
I loved it. That was awesome. But we will cut it off here. If anybody has anything else to say, I encourage you to come back next week for week 20, the big 2-0. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next week in Clubhouse and the Facebook group.